Well, it's a spectacular mid-November morning out here on Diaz Ridge overlooking the brand new Redwood Creek floodplain. All the construction season is over now, and the new Redwood Creek channel has been connected and is ready for the winter rains in the months ahead. Now, this year, the restoration team has been hard at work.
This is the year that we allowed the creek to take a whole different trajectory in how it functions, what it looks like, where it flows, how it's connected, how it functions for fish. This was the big year. This is the big momentum in the project. It feels like this is what we've really been looking for and dreaming about in all our decades of planning for this project.
This complex project, coordinated for years by the staff of the National Park Service and its nonprofit ally, the Golden Gate National Parks Conservancy, has entirely transformed the lower floodplain of Redwood Creek in the Golden Gate National Parks in Marin County, California. It's begun to restore the creek's historic natural functions, in part by removing agricultural roads and levees built long ago, which had narrowed the creek's channel, clogged it with sediment, and made it unsustainable for the survival of threatened coho salmon and steelhead trout that struggle to spawn here every year. The restoration of the lower Redwood Creek floodplain, it's hoped, will give these and other residents of the creek's dynamic ecosystem, including endangered red-legged frogs, new leases on life in the decades ahead.
I just think it's an example of what we would really want to see going forward in the 21st century. Yeah. That we've learned from our mistakes and how we've managed ecosystems in the 20th century. And this is an example of how we can do it better.
The upper portions of Redwood Creek are relatively intact. The creek flows through 7 scenic miles from near the summit of Mount Tamalpais, past ancient redwoods in fabled Muir Woods National Monument, before reaching its once-troubled floodplain, and its final brief lunge towards the open ocean at Muir Beach. Though the restoration of lower Redwood Creek took many years to plan, the work on the ground so far has been accomplished in just 3 short construction seasons. Deadlines have always been very tight, with little margin for error.
The whole period of construction felt like it was sort of like a high-stakes ball game, you know, and the clock is going to end at a certain point, and there's a certain amount of things that have to happen, and you don't know how it's going to all get played out, and it was dramatic.
There's been quite a bit of drama during each July to November construction season, with the vagaries of weather and unexpected challenges uncovered in the landscape, testing the restoration team and forcing it to adapt its plans on the go many times.
They look like walls now.
But each season, the team achieved its objectives on time. It all started in 2009. The restoration team created a lovely lagoon near the beach where river otters now bask in the sun, and stately great blue herons pose patiently for fish to pass their way, surrounded by newly planted native vegetation. In 2010, a badly disfigured and eroded hillside and drainage system, which had long washed vast amounts of silt down into the Redwood Creek floodplain, was recontoured. Deep gullies were filled in and replaced by more natural watercourses. And a steep old trail was decommissioned and realigned to fit the reformed landscape and eliminate further erosion. In the floodplain itself, ponds were prepared for frogs, and a new and wider main channel for Redwood Creek began to take shape. Then, in 2011, the entire new main channel for lower Redwood Creek was completed, with gravel carefully layered in place to serve the needs of spawning salmon, and woody shelters for fish placed strategically along the banks. A quiet backwater was created where young coho and steelhead can escape to hide from predators and gain the strength and size they need to survive as adults. Also in 2011, the old roads and levees were removed once and for all, And the many pieces of this carefully designed and constructed ecological mosaic were at last connected. Finally, a long bridge was shipped in pieces across country from Florida and installed to span the newly broadened Redwood Creek floodplain, allowing visitors a chance to explore this reborn environment and watch it mature in the years ahead. There's still more work to do. More native vegetation needs to be planted, and the Muir Beach parking lot must be rotated to avoid restricting the natural functioning of the floodplain. But a long-sought milestone had been reached here. The constrained old channel was now filled in, and Redwood Creek was free to follow its new course to the sea.
This project is the culmination of a lot of really good science. For decades, people have studied channel systems and learned a lot about geomorphology, how they really function, and the details associated with them, and a lot of study about fish habitat. So we actually had a lot to draw on for really about every detail of this. And I have just, for me, this project really is a testament to the great work that's been done for decades before this project, for what people know about creeks, fish, frogs, floodplains, soils, vegetation, the whole complex.
And I think we've been fortunate enough to have the resources through fundraising and all of the partners we have to actually put all these different pieces into play. I mean, there's so many projects that perhaps could do one or two pieces, but we've really been able to put it all together as one package and implement it accordingly. And that is exciting in and of itself.
Carolyn Shoulders from the National Park Service and Sharon Farrell from the Parks Conservancy have led the effort, working closely together and with funders, planners, ecologists, construction crews, and the general public.
That's the big fix.
That's the big fix.
They facilitated close and collaborative communications between all the members of their diverse team throughout the process. Carolyn and Sharon believe that having this continuity of relationships over many years has been critical to their success so far, and that having the commitment from the National Park Service, not simply to restore the creek, but to manage it and monitor its progress in the long run, will be essential in determining the ultimate value of the project.
A lot of projects have 3 years of monitoring, maybe 5 at the most. But when you're working in an environment that's, we're managing these lands into perpetuity, we're very fortunate to be able to have that long-term perspective. And that in and of itself gives, I think, a lot of opportunity for us to take a project like this and to study it over time and how it evolves.
As the third construction season came to a close, the restoration seemed to be evolving as hoped and planned. And as carefully planted native vegetation takes root and grows in the years ahead, the helping hand of humanity will gradually disappear from the landscape. Nature will be free to give Redwood Creek and its vulnerable residents a more promising future.
Well, one of the things I often say about doing restoration is that if we do our work well, you really can't tell we did anything. And I think that the work that we did out here even 2 years ago is already a testament to that. I think that in a short period of time, you'll see it out here. Nobody's going to even know that we did anything. It's just going to look natural. And I'm very happy with what we see right now. I feel 100% confident it's going to grow in, it's going to function as we intended.
And late in the winter of 2011-2012, the functioning of the new floodplain was put to the test.
Well, the winter of 2011-2012 was one of the warmest and driest on record here until the middle of March, when the rains came in force and the water rushed down Redwood Creek. Well, it's receded some in the last couple of days, but you can see where it was. It was high and it was wide, almost filling the entire floodplain.
These photos were taken as the new restoration site faced its first full flood and passed its initial test with flying colors. The new creek channel functioned perfectly. Some of the overflowing water dispersed as planned into languid backwaters, while other runoff slowed and spread beneath the new bridge on its way through the lagoon and out to the sea. All of this was cause for celebration as staff and volunteers watched the restored creek assert control of its own destiny. Many organizations have played significant roles in funding and supporting the successful restoration of Redwood Creek. They've shared a vision and worked as a team, and they all deserve a moment of recognition and thanks for a job well done.